Late September 2019. Pacific Northwest, just east of the Cascades. I was 34, a veteran helicopter pilot with 12 years flying search and rescue and charter tours over some of the most remote wilderness in North America. Clear morning, cold wind, and Maya Reynolds in my passenger seat with her camera and too much ambition. We were supposed to circle the ridge, get some aerial shots for her documentary, head back by noon. What we captured on camera that day was unthinkable. 10 minutes of footage showing something massive dragging a human body into the trees. I erased it 3 days later, believing it would put others in danger. That decision cost me my job, my credibility, and any chance of proving what happened. Maya went back alone to find the truth. She never came out. Some secrets stay hidden for a reason, and some of us carry the weight of knowing them anyway. I wasn't looking for anything unusual that day. Maya Reynolds had booked the charter flight 2 weeks prior, said she needed aerial footage of untouched wilderness for a documentary about disappearing ecosystems. Standard job. I'd flown hundreds of filmmakers over these mountains, watched them point cameras at old-growth forest and glacier-fed streams, heard them talk about capturing truth, like the landscape owed them something. Maya seemed different, though, quieter, more focused. She arrived at the hangar early, gear already packed, routes already mapped, professional. We lifted off just after 8 a.m., rotors cutting clean through cold September air. The flight plan was simple. Follow the ridgeline east toward Coldwater Ravine, circle the upper basin, return via the logging roads. 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours if the weather held. Maya filmed through the open door, wind whipping her dark hair across her face. Camera steady despite the turbulence. Below us, Douglas fir stretched unbroken for miles. I knew every peak, every watershed. This was my territory. I'd flown it so many times I could navigate by feel, by the way sunlight hit certain rock faces, by the shape of shadows in the valleys. It was routine, comfortable, the kind of flight where your mind wanders to grocery lists and unpaid bills. Then, just past the ridge above Coldwater Ravine, I saw something that didn't belong. Movement. That's what caught my eye first. Not the shape, not the color, just movement that was wrong for the landscape. Too deliberate, too large. I focused through the side window, adjusting our angle slightly to get a better view. Below us, maybe 80 feet down, something was moving through the trees near the ravine's edge. Dark, massive, walking upright. My first rational thought was bear. Had to be a bear, even though we didn't get many grizzlies this far west. But the proportions were wrong. Too tall, too broad through the shoulders, arms too long. It moved like a human, but built like something else entirely. Maya's hand touched my shoulder. I glanced at her. She was pointing, camera raised, face pale. She'd seen it too. I circled back, descending slightly, giving her a better angle. The helicopter's shadow passed over the tree line and the figure paused, turned, looked up at us. That's when my stomach dropped. It was dragging something. A body. A human body. I could see the shape clearly now, legs trailing limply, one arm catching on underbrush, pale skin visible against the dark forest floor. The creature, Bigfoot, though I couldn't think the word yet, pulled the body with one massive hand, moving steadily toward deeper cover. Maya was filming, camera pressed to the window, breathing hard into her headset microphone. I heard myself say, "We need to leave, now." But I didn't pull up. I hovered there, rotors chopping air, watching this impossible thing drag a dead person into the forest like it was normal, like it happened every day. The creature stopped at the tree line's edge, looked directly at us again, not with curiosity, with awareness, intelligence. It knew we were there, knew we were watching, and chose to continue anyway. Then it disappeared into the trees, the body vanishing with it. My hands were shaking on the controls. Maya was still filming, but her voice came through broken. "Ethan, tell me you saw that. Tell me I'm not—" "I saw it," I said. Every instinct I had screamed to climb, to put distance between us and whatever that thing was to get us back to civilization. But Maya was already checking her footage, rewinding, confirming. We had it recorded. We had proof. And I already knew that was going to be a problem. "We have to call it in," Maya said. "There was a person. Someone's dead down there." She was right, but I couldn't move, couldn't think past what we'd just seen. Bigfoot. The word sat in my throat like poison. I'd heard the stories my whole life: footprints, blurry photos, campfire tales from hunters who'd had too much whiskey. I'd never believed any of it. Now I had 10 minutes of high-definition footage showing exactly what everyone claimed existed. And it was dragging a corpse. "Ethan," Maya's voice pulled me back. "We have to land, we have to check." Every part of me wanted to refuse, wanted to climb to altitude, radio the sheriff from 20 miles away, let someone else deal with this. Caution over curiosity. That's what my flight instructor had drilled into me. When something feels wrong, when your gut screams danger, you listen. You don't investigate. You survive. But there was a body down there. Someone's son. Someone's husband. Someone who'd left for a hike and never came home. We couldn't just leave. I found a clearing half a mile south, brought the helicopter down smooth despite my shaking hands, killed the engine. The silence that followed was absolute. No birds, no wind, just the tick of cooling metal and our own breathing. "We stay together," I said. "We find the body, we confirm what we saw, and we get back to the helicopter. 15 minutes maximum." Maya nodded, already, unbuckling, reaching for her camera. I grabbed the emergency kit from under my seat and followed her into the forest. The smell hit me first: wet fur, thick and musky, mixed with something else I couldn't identify. Pine and decay and fear. The trees closed in around us, filtering the light to a dim green glow. My boots sank into soft earth, each step muffled by moss and fallen needles. We moved quietly, listening. The forest was dead silent in a way that wasn't natural. No insects buzzing, no squirrels chattering, nothing. It took us 10 minutes to find him. Caleb Moore, according to the ID in his scattered gear. Local survivalist, ran wilderness training courses out of Bend. He'd been tracking something. That much was obvious from the equipment spread around him. High-end trail cameras, plaster casting kit for footprints, audio recording gear still running. He'd been hunting Bigfoot, and he'd found it. Caleb's neck was broken. I'm not a doctor, but I'd seen enough accident victims during search and rescue to recognize the signs. His head sat at an angle that made my stomach turn. Dead maybe 12 hours, judging by the rigor. Maya filmed the scene, documenting everything with shaking hands. I wanted to tell her to stop, but we needed evidence. Needed proof of what had happened here. The footprints surrounding Caleb's body were massive. 18 inches long, 5-toed, pressed deep into the soft ground. They circled his position like he'd been stalked, studied before the final confrontation. I photographed them with my phone, took measurements with a fallen stick. Somewhere in my training, I remembered you're supposed to preserve evidence, treat it like a crash site. But this wasn't a crash. This was something else entirely. "We should go," I said. "Call this in from the helicopter." Maya lowered her camera. "You saw what I filmed, right? What we both filmed?" "Yeah. What are we going to tell them?" I looked at her. "The truth. We saw something large dragging a body. We landed to investigate. We found Caleb Moore deceased. Apparent animal attack." "Animal attack." Her voice was flat. "That wasn't an animal, Ethan. That was Bigfoot." There it was. The words spoken aloud, made real between us. I nodded slowly. "I know, but who's going to believe that? Who's going to look at our footage and not call it a hoax, not destroy our credibility before we even finish talking? So we just lie? We tell them enough to get a recovery team out here. We give them the location, the body, the evidence. The footage is ours. We decide what to do with it later." Maya stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. We hiked back to the helicopter as the sun started dropping toward the horizon. I called it in on the radio. Body located, coordinates provided, request immediate sheriff response. They confirmed, said a team was en route, ETA 90 minutes. We could have left. Should have left. Flown back to the hangar, let the authorities handle recovery. But something kept us there. Maybe it was the footage. Maybe it was the need to see this through, to make sure Caleb wasn't alone in the forest any longer than necessary. We stayed, and that was our mistake. The sheriff's deputies arrived just as full darkness settled over the forest. Two of them, Carson and Webb, both middle-aged and professional. They hiked in with flashlights and evidence bags, took our statements separately. I told them about the aerial survey, about spotting something large in the woods, about landing to investigate and finding Caleb's body. Clean, factual, no mention of Bigfoot. Maya was less restrained. I watched from a distance as she argued with Deputy Carson, gesturing at her camera, obviously trying to show him the footage. He listened politely, looked at her screen, then handed the camera back with a shake of his head. When they finally let us go, Maya was furious. "He called it a bear," she said as we walked back to the helicopter. "Looked right at the footage and said it was a bear carrying a carcass." "Maybe he's right," I offered, knowing it was a lie. "You don't believe that?" "No. But maybe it's easier than the alternative." We sat in the helicopter cabin, not starting the engine yet, just sitting in the dark. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The forest around us felt heavy, pressing in. I could hear sounds now that I hadn't noticed before, small creaks and rustles, the occasional crack of a branch. Normal forest sounds. Probably. "What are we going to do with the footage?" Maya asked quietly. I'd been thinking about that since the moment we landed. 10 minutes of clear, undeniable evidence. The kind of proof cryptozoologists had been searching for since the Patterson-Gimlin film. We could release it, become famous, change scientific understanding of what's possible. Or we could destroy it, protect whatever that creature was, protect ourselves from the circus that would follow. "I don't know," I said honestly. Then the first knock came, hollow, deliberate, echoing through the dark. Boom. 3 seconds of silence. Then another. Boom. A third. Boom. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, coming from somewhere beyond the tree line. Maya grabbed my arm. "What was that?" I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because I knew what it was, even if I didn't want to believe it. Wood knocks. Communication. Bigfoot announcing its presence, marking territory, sending a message I couldn't interpret. The sound came again. 3 knocks from a different direction this time. Closer. My heart hammered against my ribs. I reached for the ignition, ready to start the engine and get us airborne, but before I could turn the key, something hit the helicopter. Hard. The whole airframe shuddered with the impact. Maya screamed. I threw my hands up defensively, expecting I don't know what. Another blow came, this time to the tail boom. The helicopter rocked on its skids. A third strike hit the door, rattling the frame, and I saw it then through the window. A massive hand. Dark fur. Fingers as thick as my wrist. It pressed against the glass for one impossible second, then withdrew. I slammed the ignition, brought the engine online, collective full up before the rotors were even at flight RPM. Dangerous, but I didn't care. We had to leave. We were never meant to be here. The helicopter lifted roughly, tail swinging as I fought for control. Below us, shadows moved between the trees, huge, deliberate shapes tracking our ascent. I didn't look down, focused on instruments, on gaining altitude, on putting distance between us and whatever had just struck the aircraft. Maya was crying, hands pressed over her mouth, camera forgotten in her lap. We flew in silence back to the hangar, landed hard. I shut everything down with shaking hands, did the post-flight inspection on autopilot. 3 distinct impact marks on the fuselage, dents in the aluminum skin, each one shaped like massive knuckles. No way to explain them in the maintenance log. No way to claim bird strike or turbulence. I took photos with my phone, then realized I didn't know what I'd do with them. Couldn't file an incident report without explaining what had caused the damage. Maya stood beside me, staring at the dents. "It was warning us," she said quietly. "Warning us to leave." "Yeah, or warning us not to share what we saw." I looked at her. "You still have the footage?" She nodded, holding up her camera. "You think we should delete it?" "I think," I said slowly, "that footage could get people killed. Cryptozoologists, hunters, military maybe. If the world knows Bigfoot exists, if they know it's killed at least one person, this forest will be invaded within a week. And whatever that creature is, it clearly doesn't want to be found. So we just hide it, pretend it never happened? We protect people from making the same mistake Caleb Moore made, from going into those woods thinking they can track something that doesn't want to be tracked. Maya was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "I need to think about it. This is my career, Ethan. This footage could change everything. I know. But you're right about the danger, about what it could cause." She looked at the dents in the helicopter's skin. "I need time." I gave her time. 3 days, to be exact. 3 days of not sleeping, of staring at the footage on my own phone, of trying to convince myself I was making the right choice. Then I deleted it. All 10 minutes. Watched the file disappear, emptied the trash, made sure it was really gone. I called Maya to tell her, got her voicemail, left a message explaining my decision, asking her to do the same, to protect the creature and protect anyone who might go looking. She never called back. 2 days later, her mother contacted me. Maya had left town, gone back to the mountains to get better footage, to document what we'd seen. She'd been gone 48 hours without contact. I knew immediately what had happened. Knew it, with the same certainty I'd felt watching Bigfoot drag Caleb's body into the trees. She'd gone back, and the forest had taken her for it. The search for Maya Reynolds lasted 2 weeks. Sheriff's deputies, volunteer firefighters, search and rescue teams combing 30 square miles of wilderness. I joined them, felt like I owed her that much at least. We found nothing. No tracks, no equipment, no sign she'd ever been there. The official report called it missing person, presumed lost in wilderness area. No foul play suspected, just another hiker who'd underestimated the mountains. But I knew better. On the 10th day of searching, I got called into my supervisor's office. Greg Harrigan, the man who'd hired me 12 years ago, who'd signed off on every flight I'd logged. He didn't look happy. "I've been getting questions," he said, "about the Caleb Moore incident, about damaged equipment, about footage you allegedly erased." My stomach dropped. "Who's asking?" "Sheriff's Department, Maya Reynolds' mother, the charter company's insurance investigator." He leaned back in his chair, studied me. "You want to tell me what really happened out there?" I could have lied. Could have stuck to my story about a bear, about standard procedures, about equipment damage from an unknown impact. But I was tired. Tired of hiding. Tired of carrying the weight alone. "We saw something," I said. "Maya and I. Something that shouldn't exist. I filmed it, then deleted the footage because I thought it would put people in danger. I was trying to protect—" "Stop." Greg held up his hand. "I don't want to hear conspiracy theories. I want to know if you compromised a search and rescue operation, if you withheld evidence in a missing person case. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Ethan? Because from where I'm sitting, you erased potentially crucial footage, damaged company equipment without filing a report, and now a client is missing under suspicious circumstances." He slid a piece of paper across his desk. "This is your termination notice, effective immediately. Gross negligence, failure to follow safety protocols, destruction of evidence." The words hit like a physical blow. "Greg, you don't understand. I understand you made choices that cost this company credibility and money. I understand I have lawyers telling me we're liable for whatever happened to Ms. Reynolds because you didn't follow proper procedures." He stood. "Clear out your locker. You're grounded." I walked out of his office in a daze. 12 years of clean flying, hundreds of successful missions, all of it gone because I'd tried to do the right thing, because I'd tried to protect people from a truth they weren't ready for. The news spread fast. By the end of the week, everyone in the local aviation community knew I'd been fired, knew about the erased footage, about Maya's disappearance, about my claims of seeing something in the woods. Nobody believed me. Or if they did, they weren't willing to say so. I became a cautionary tale. The pilot who'd lost his mind, who'd deleted evidence, who'd gotten someone killed through negligence. Without my job, I had too much time to think. Too much time to replay everything, to question every decision. I should have shared the footage immediately. Should have prioritized evidence over protection. Should have stopped Maya from going back. Physically prevented her if necessary. Instead, I'd erased the proof and lost everything. My career, my credibility, possibly my sanity. The only thing I had left was the truth, and nobody wanted to hear it. I tried posting about the experience online, in cryptozoology forums and Bigfoot research groups, used a fake name, kept details vague. The responses were mixed. Some people believed me, shared their own encounter stories, offered support. Others called me a liar, a hoaxer, another attention seeker making up stories. One message stood out from someone calling themselves Forest Watcher. If you saw what you claim to have seen and you erased the evidence, you were right to do so. Some truths protect by staying hidden. They're watching you now. Be careful. I didn't know what that meant. Didn't know who they were. But that night I heard the knocks again. 3 hollow booms coming from the trees behind my rental house on the edge of town. I went to the window, looked out into the darkness, saw nothing but shadows and wind-tossed branches. The knocks came again. Closer this time. I grabbed a flashlight, went outside despite every survival instinct screaming at me to stay inside, to lock the doors. The beam cut through the darkness, catching nothing but trees and undergrowth. Then I saw them. Footprints in the mud of my backyard. The same massive 5-toed prints I'd seen around Caleb's body. They led from the forest to my back porch, then returned the same way. Something had been standing there, watching my house, watching me. I should have been terrified, should have called the police, should have run. But instead I felt something else. Recognition, understanding. Bigfoot knew where I lived, knew I'd erased the footage. And it was, what? Checking on me? Warning me? Thanking me? I found a gift on the porch the next morning. A piece of curved wood, smoothed and polished, carved with simple geometric patterns. It was beautiful, deliberate, a craft object made with clear intention. I picked it up, turned it over in my hands, and understood. This wasn't a warning, it was an acknowledgement, a message that my choice had been seen, had been understood, that I'd done the right thing, even if it had cost me everything. I kept the carved wood, put it on my kitchen windowsill where I could see it every day. A reminder that some truths are bigger than career, bigger than credibility, bigger than proof. That mystery serves a purpose. That the world needs wild places and wild things and secrets that stay secret. Even if nobody believed me, even if I'd lost everything, I'd made the right choice. Maya's mother called me 6 weeks after the search ended. Her voice was hollow, emptied out by grief. "They're closing the case," she said, declaring her legally dead. No body, no evidence, just gone. I didn't know what to say. I'm sorry felt inadequate. I tried, felt like a lie. "You were right," she continued, "about protecting people from the truth." I found her journal. She wrote about the footage, about what you'd said, about how you wanted to delete it, and she thought you were wrong. She paused. "I think she went back to prove you wrong, to get better evidence, to show the world. Mrs. Reynolds, I'm not blaming you, Ethan. I'm thanking you for trying to stop her, for understanding something she didn't." Her voice cracked. "Some things should stay hidden. I get that now. I just wish she'd gotten it sooner." We talked for a few more minutes, then she hung up. I sat holding the phone, feeling the weight of her words. Maya had died trying to expose a truth I'd tried to bury. We'd both made choices. Mine had cost me my career. Hers had cost everything. 2 days later, I received a package. No return address, just my name and rental house number written in careful block letters. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. "Your choice saved lives. More than you know. The forest keeps its own. A friend." I plugged the drive into my laptop. One file. A video dated 5 days before Maya disappeared. The footage was shaky, filmed at night with a flashlight. I recognized Maya's voice immediately, whispering into the camera, "Day 5 at the ravine. I've been leaving food, recording audio, trying to make contact. Tonight I heard the knocks again. 3 times, just like before. I think it wants to communicate. I'm going to follow the sounds." The camera panned through darkness, flashlight beam catching trees and undergrowth. Maya's breathing was loud, excited. Then the beam caught something. Movement between the trees. She zoomed in. For just a second, Bigfoot was visible, clearer than our aerial footage had been. Its face turned toward the camera, eyes reflecting the light, expression unreadable, almost sad. Then it stepped back into darkness. The video ended. I sat staring at the black screen. Someone had found Maya's camera, had extracted this footage, had sent it to me as what? Confirmation? Warning? Evidence that I'd been right to delete our original recording? The note said my choice had saved lives. Plural. Maybe Maya's death had prevented others from following. Maybe by erasing the footage, by sacrificing my career and credibility, I'd kept the forest from being invaded by cryptozoologists and hunters and military teams. Maybe some truths do protect by staying hidden. I ejected the USB drive and put it in a drawer with the carved wood. Never watched the video again, never shared it. Some of us carry secrets, not because we're cowards, but because we understand what they cost, what they protect. Maya died for that understanding. I was determined to live for it. The knocks became routine after that. 3 hollow booms, always at night, usually around 2 or 3 a.m. They came from different directions, sometimes east, sometimes south, occasionally from directly behind the house. Like something was circling, maintaining awareness, keeping watch. I learned to sleep through them. Or maybe I just got used to the presence, the knowledge that I wasn't alone out here on the edge of town. That Bigfoot was nearby, watching, maintaining whatever connection we'd established when I deleted that footage. People in town started talking. Not about me specifically, though my reputation as the crazy pilot had spread, but about the woods, about strange sounds, about feeling watched, about that instinct that tells you you're not at the top of the food chain anymore. The hardware store owner swore he'd seen something crossing Highway 20 one foggy morning, something too big to be human, moving on 2 legs. A hiking group found stacked stones near Coldwater Ravine, arranged in patterns no natural process could create. The local paper ran articles about increased wildlife activity, about bears being more bold, about mountain lion sightings. Nobody said Bigfoot, but everyone was thinking it. I kept quiet, went about what was left of my business, odd jobs, handyman work, anything to pay rent, smiled politely when people asked if I missed flying, lied and said I was enjoying the change. The truth was more complicated. I missed the sky, missed the clean simplicity of controls and instruments and clear objectives. But I didn't miss the responsibility. Didn't miss carrying passengers who trusted me to make good decisions, when good decisions sometimes meant destroying evidence and losing everything. One morning I found a new gift on my porch. A woven basket, small and intricate, made from cedar bark and filled with huckleberries. Fresh, still cool from the forest. I looked at the tree line, saw nothing but morning mist and shadows. But I knew Bigfoot was there, somewhere, maintaining the relationship we'd built through silence and sacrifice. I started leaving things in return. Not food. That felt wrong. Felt like I was trying to domesticate something wild. But interesting objects. A mirror from a thrift shop. A piece of broken pottery with bright glaze. A small harmonica I'd never learned to play. The gifts disappeared within hours, sometimes replaced with feathers, or smooth stones, or more carved wood pieces. We had an understanding, Bigfoot and I, an arrangement built on mutual respect and shared secrecy. It stayed hidden in the forest. I stayed quiet about what I'd seen. We exchanged gifts and kept each other's mysteries safe from a world that wasn't ready for either of us. I never tried to film it again, never went looking, never told anyone what was happening, because I understood now what forest watcher had meant about being tested. The test wasn't about proving Bigfoot existed. It was about proving I could be trusted, that I could know the truth and choose to protect it instead of exploit it, that I could sacrifice everything, career, credibility, financial security, to keep something wild and ancient safe from human interference. I'd failed Maya, but I wouldn't fail this. 3 years passed. Maya was declared legally dead. Caleb Moore's family held a memorial service. The helicopter company hired a new pilot and forgot I'd ever existed. I moved from handyman work to night shifts at a warehouse, jobs where nobody asked questions and nobody cared about my past. The carved wood pieces accumulated on my windowsill. 10 of them now, each one different, each one showing patterns I couldn't quite interpret but recognized as intentional. Communication in a language I didn't speak but somehow understood. The knocks continued, regular as clockwork. 3 hollow booms at 2 a.m., give or take 15 minutes. I'd wake up, acknowledge them with a nod, go back to sleep. They'd become part of my routine, as normal as the sound of traffic or rain on the roof. Sometimes I dreamed about Maya. She'd be standing in the forest, camera in hand, motioning for me to follow. I'd try, but my legs wouldn't move. The trees would close around her and she'd vanish into darkness, still filming, still searching for truth I'd tried to protect her from. I'd wake up guilty, certain I'd killed her by not being brave enough, or maybe too brave. It was hard to say which. Other dreams were gentler. I'd be walking through the forest at dawn, and I'd see Bigfoot standing in a clearing. Just standing there, watching me. Not threatening, not afraid. Just present, sharing space. In these dreams, I understood something I couldn't put into words when awake. That Bigfoot wasn't an animal or a monster, but something else entirely. Something old and deliberate and worthy of the sacrifice I'd made. That the world wasn't ready for it, might never be ready, and my job was to keep the door closed. The gifts told me I was right. Then one day I got a letter. Official-looking envelope, Sheriff's Department letterhead. Inside was a notice that new evidence had emerged in the Caleb Moore case. A trail camera found by hikers, containing footage from the days before his death. The Sheriff's Department requested I come in for additional questioning regarding the incident. My stomach sank. I'd thought this was over, thought the case was closed. Caleb's death attributed to a bear attack. Maya's disappearance just another missing person statistic. But apparently someone was still looking, still asking questions. I went to the sheriff's office the next day. Deputy Carson met me in an interview room, older now, more gray in his hair. He showed me the trail camera footage without preamble. It was grainy, triggered by motion, showing Caleb Moore setting up equipment in the woods. Then, hours later, a massive figure approaching. Bigfoot, clear as day, walking upright. Intelligent, deliberate. It circled Caleb's position for several minutes before the footage cut out. Carson watched my face as I processed what I was seeing. "You saw this too," he said quietly. "Didn't you? That day with Ms. Reynolds." I could have lied. Could have maintained my story about a bear, about mistaken identity, about equipment failure. But I was tired. Tired of lying. Tired of carrying this alone. "Yeah," I said. "I saw it." Carson nodded slowly, like he'd expected my answer. The Moore family is pushing for a full investigation. They want answers about what killed their son. And now we have evidence it wasn't a bear. He paused. "You deleted your footage. Why?" I chose my words carefully. Because I thought it would put people in danger. Thought if the world knew Bigfoot existed, knew it had killed someone, this forest would be invaded within a week. Hunters, scientists, military maybe. And whatever that creature is, it deserves to stay hidden. Ms. Reynolds didn't agree. No. And she went back to get better proof. And she never came out. Carson was quiet for a moment. Then he turned off the recording device on the table between us, leaned back in his chair. "Off the record?" I nodded. "I believe you made the right call. That footage from Caleb's camera, We're not releasing it. The family will be told the data was corrupted, unusable. The case will remain officially unsolved. He met my eyes. Some secrets are worth keeping, even if it costs us the truth. I felt something loosen in my chest. Validation, maybe, or just relief that someone else understood. What about Maya? Missing person, presumed deceased. No foul play suspected, that's how it stays. He stood. You lost your job for this, your credibility. I can't give those back. But I can tell you that you did the right thing. More people would have died if that footage had gone public. I left the sheriff's office feeling lighter than I had in 3 years. My choices hadn't been mistakes. They'd been necessary. The cost had been high, but the alternative would have been higher. That night, the knocks came one last time. 3 hollow booms from the tree line behind my house. I went to the window, looked out into the darkness, saw a shape standing at the forest's edge, barely visible against the trees. Bigfoot, watching me one final time. I raised my hand. A goodbye, a thank you, an acknowledgement of everything we'd been through. The shape remained still for a moment, then turned and disappeared into the woods. I never heard the knocks again. I moved to the coast 6 months later. Small town, ocean views, far from the mountains and the memories. People ask why I left, and I tell them I wanted a change. It's not the whole truth, but it's enough. The carved wood pieces sit on a shelf in my new apartment, a private museum of evidence I'll never share. Sometimes I pick them up, trace the patterns, remember what they cost me and what they saved. I don't regret erasing the footage. Don't regret losing my job or my credibility. Some secrets are meant to stay hidden. Some truths protect by remaining unknown. And some of us carry the weight of knowing them, quietly, in the spaces between what we've seen and what we're allowed to say. I saw Bigfoot, and it saw me, and we both chose silence. That's enough.